How can tabletop role-playing games improve the lives of entire populations? Welcome to Gaining Advantage. Welcome to Gaining Advantage. We are using role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons to help you make lives better. We're just wrapping up our weekly free bonus encounters, so if you missed any of those, our patrons have access to all of them, including new animated battle maps that we didn't have ready when we released them. There's still some left, so you can jump over to our website if you haven't already found them, wormxpublishing.com, and you can find what we still have. They're each only available for 1 week, so I encourage you to go grab them as soon as possible. Also, if you're watching this in the next few days as we release this, Black Friday is approaching, and we're going to have a discount code on our website and a bigger discount for the members of our Horde, our weekly email updates. If you sign up for that, you'll be able to grab that discount, and an even bigger discount for our patrons. And so lots of opportunities there to save, and we have all kinds of gifts available for you, like chests and framed dragons and gift cards, and also the Worms Workshop, which is just the ultimate experience for you or the gamer in your life to make a permanent impact on the tabletop role-playing game hobby. And so I encourage you to check those out. And so with all that said, let's get right into our interview. What happens when a party comes together to change the world? Today, we're joined by Jonathan Connor Self, a top-rated professional game master and the founder of the D8 Summit, a charitable organization that uses tabletop role-playing games to challenge real-world monsters. Welcome, Connor.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the chance to speak with you, Dale, and to reach out to your audience out there.
All right, so what would you like us to know about you personally, specifically talking to the tabletop role-playing game crowd?
Well, first of all, you can just call me Connor. All of those names, that's just for like authorship purposes. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a therapist, but I'm also a gaming creative and a charity lead. I am, like you mentioned, a top-rated pro DM on Start Playing Games, an award-winning gaming author and creative, the vice president of project development for the Word Refinery, and an advocate for mental health. So, and also education and inclusion in gaming spaces. So, that's kind of what I'm known for. But the fun stuff, my first RPG was Marvel Superheroes by TSR. Although I did sort of fanboy when I got Matt Forbeck to autograph my copy of the new Marvel RPG. Which I'm still trying to learn because I'm gonna have a really good time with that. I have 3 rescue animals, and I'm a huge Star Trek nerd. So,
all right. So you've kind of mentioned it already a little bit, but you use gaming in a lot of ways to make lives better. What can you tell us about that?
Well, so a large part of my clinical work is I am a games therapist. A lot of folks, especially in like the RPG space, they automatically think of people that use tabletop RPGs in a therapeutic sense, like Dungeons and Dragons. But my use of games goes a lot wider than that. I use all different sorts of games, not just RPGs, but also board games and card games to help individuals heal trauma. And to teach skills where somebody might be struggling, like social skills or problem-solving skills. I also spend a lot of time using gaming to create like therapeutic spaces. So this is a little bit separate from therapy. Like if we're talking about a therapy space, it's not quite the same as a therapeutic space. A therapeutic space is a space that just promotes healing. And I use gaming a lot to create those. My pro DM spaces are a pretty good example of therapeutic game spaces, meaning we don't do the actual hard work of therapy, which does not play at all like your typical RPG, but I do run RPGs in such a way that it promotes just the well-being of everybody around the table.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how, that kind of experience of being able to be in an environment like that, in a that kind of a setting, that people would say, and I was having a hard week, but I knew that Monday night's D&D night and Monday night's coming,
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. Like when I can get together with with those players, and they're like, "I've been waiting for this all week. It's been a really tough week." They might take a couple minutes to talk about the things they got going on, and we'll be like, "Well, well, are you ready to pretend to be an elf then?" And we can tackle some of these fake world demons, and maybe just by being with each other, laughing, sharing a story, sort of prep ourselves to get back out there and do the real world heavy lifting that all of us have to do.
Yeah. All right. So tell us about D8 Summit Charities.
Okay. So D8 Summit Charities is a 501c3 charity organization, which means that donations made to it are fully tax deductible. We've existed for over a decade in some form or another, but we were officially incorporated 3 or 4 years ago. We raise money for quality local causes. We've raised money for homeless shelters, food banks, youth mental health, suicide prevention, historical museums. We've done that through the auspices of running gaming events, both online and in person. We also help new authors or authors from underrepresented communities just sort of get their feet in the door in the publication space by providing support for them to do that, providing the editing, layout, and publication experience that's necessary for folks just to get started creating, reduce that barrier to entry, because we want everybody to be able to tell their stories. So we spend a lot of time with that, and we also provide education and outreach to the gaming community on topics of education, health, mental health, inclusion, the things that can take gaming and turn it not only into a fun pastime that all of us enjoy, but also can make it a force for good out there in the world. It's working with them. We incorporated our organization. We put it together and started hosting events right after a serious tornado. There was a tornado that hit Washington, Illinois, about 45 minutes to an hour south of where I was living at the time, and it just absolutely flattened that community. Like, it devastated it. And we were some friends and I were putting together the thought, like, let's have a gaming event. And we're like, you know what? But there's folks like really close to here that just, they've suffered so much. And is there anything that we can do? And we're like, well, there are things we could do. Like, what if we take this gaming event and just make it for charity? Like, it's not going to make any of us rich. Gaming conventions, really, they're not, outside of the really, really big ones, they're not money-making events. They're labors of love for communities. Like, well, let's just take the money that we make from it and give it to a great cause. And that's sort of how that idea got born. And it sort of just, it grew from there.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's great. Honestly, it's been one of the most, working with D8 Summit from its beginning now has been one of the most fulfilling things I think I've ever done in my life.
I bet. This just, I often think about, like, there's so many different needs. It's like, if you want to make a difference, it's not like there's a lack of places and people that need that,
Absolutely.
like, and people can get kind of overwhelmed sometimes, going, okay, but where do I start? And so, but an organization like yours is a great place to start, because you cover a wide range of different things, and people can connect and jump in all different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And in every capacity, from volunteer to attendee, for one of our events, to supporter. There's all different sorts of roles that folks can take, that give back, and our organization tries to support people with that. It could be that, hey, I just want to attend an event and I want to feel good about my attendance. I want to know that the money that I'm giving isn't just going into somebody's pocket or into somebody else's bank account, but is actually getting out there and doing good. That's one of the nice things about the events that we host. They're actually 100% for charity. We don't, we're not a for-profit organization, and we don't pay rent, and we don't pay salaries. It's 100% donated and volunteer led, so that you just know that all of that money is going to go to the people that need it the most. We're going to put on some real banger events, and we're sort of, we have the reputation out there for putting on some of the best charity events in the gaming space. But that money is going to go to support the people who just really need it. And that's why, besides getting out there and doing the outreach in the gaming community, the charities that we support are all local. We try to get out there, and, big charities do amazing work, and they do a lot of good in our society. A lot of the legwork, that real person-to-person contact, and help comes from small charities, though. Charities with tight budgets, that are out there on the ground in the communities that they serve, doing the most good they can with what they have. And so, we want to know that the money that we want you to know that the money that you donate to us, that it's actually going to people and not marketing budgets or big CEO salaries, or a lot of the other things, unfortunately, are all over just the charity space in general.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just, when you talk about local, I mean, for gamers that are used to, sitting around a table, and, of course, there's plenty of online play, which you well know, but and there are probably those that would disagree with me, but as someone who's, when COVID happened, our group went online, and we haven't been able to get back to in person. And but man, that personal connection, we just keep talking about it, and just being able to be in person is so valuable, so powerful. And and so when you talk about charity work and being able to connect in person, like, you're not just making lives better in the sense of, we're helping with this or that, to fix this or whatever, but like, you're connecting with people, you're connecting with the people that you're serving with, you're connecting with the people that you're serving, and stuff like that. And so you're building that personal connection there too.
Right. And if you've ever, like, for those of you out there, if you've never attended a D8 Summit event, I can't recommend it enough, because the event is built with that interpersonal experience in mind first. We gather in this hobby because we love games. It's a pastime that we enjoy. But if we really stop and think about it, the games are almost an excuse. The real reason why we get together and do this is the togetherness. It's an activity we enjoy, but it's all about building, maintaining, fostering relationships that add to our lives, friendships made around the table, families built around the table. That's the reason why people play games. And so at a D8 Summit event, we put that first and foremost. We structure the event so that there's ample time, not just to connect people with people around the game table, but also the dinner table, or a chance just to sit and chat. Those times are every bit as meaningful as the time that we spend chucking dice at, and slaying dragons. So our events, we try to build on that too. We always say that if you come to a D8 Summit event, expect to leave with friends, with new friends that you didn't know you had, because that's a focus of ours.
That's cool. All right. And so let me respond to that with, I know a lot of people that struggle in social situations.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you put them in a room full of people, and it can be a bit overwhelming, right? But I'm thinking that you keep that in mind in your planning.
We do. So one of the first things that we do is we're very mindful of group size. We keep our events small enough that it's not overwhelming. Part of the fun of stepping into a large event, those large national conventions, is the overwhelming feel of it. But that doesn't always facilitate just quality interpersonal interactions, especially with people that you don't know. You're one face among a sea of thousands. At a D8 Summit event, we cap attendance at a low number, and we do that so that it can encourage seeing people repeatedly throughout the event, so that it makes the chance to actually go out to grab lunch together more doable. It's more tenable, and we build events that at the convention that are just they're built to help facilitate the interaction between people who maybe don't even know each other. It's pretty common to have a social hour. We'll often have a mixer, an impromptu mixer, where people just are standing around drinking soda or an adult beverage of their choice and getting to know other people. It's a very special thing. So that feel is something that we nurture because we think it's important.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. As someone who personally struggles in large events,
Mm-hmm.
Man, you put me, just the word mixer gives me all kinds of anxiety.
Yeah. It does until it's just like you realize people are just there and they don't all know each other and they're just talking and hanging out and chatting about their games and saying, I really appreciated it, because the event's small enough that you see repeat people, you're a little bit more comfortable approaching them.
Yep.
Hey, I played 2 of your games. That was really cool. I like when you did that. Oh yeah, I learned from that guy over there, and she over there, she told me that she liked this about. Oh yeah, really? What's it? And you just make those connections in a way that's less intimidating.
Well, you've got something to connect over.
Mm-hmm.
So often in those situations, it's like what do you talk about? And that, that's always the sort of icebreaker thing. And I horribly struggle with that. And but yeah, put me with a bunch of gamers, especially if it's somebody that I've already played with, then it's like, oh yeah, because we can talk about, hey, remember when this happened, or oh, that was so awesome, or yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've got that built-in sort of way to connect with people, and it's a lot of times at gaming events, you're going to end up connecting with people just because you have that shared interest, that shared passion, or shared stories. And so, a well-built event can foster that. We also really try to keep the focus on our cause. And so we're playing games, but don't be surprised if representatives from whatever charity organization we're supporting come up to your table and personally thank you. Right? Go visit, the the vendors, which oftentimes people will gather around to chat with, or even, take a time to go over to the Empty Chair Memorial and visit with memories of friends that we've lost over the years. It's meant to uplift the spirit and connect us and bring us together around a shared passion.
Cool. That's so cool. All right. So you've already mentioned a few examples, but do you have other examples how you've seen lives change because of your work?
So I've seen youths that I've worked with gain basic understanding of other people. I remember when I was a kid, it's a very personal story. When I was a kid, I used to really look forward to visiting with my grandfather. He would take me over to his house. He'd share some of those jelly orange slices that every grandpa seemed to always have. And we would play checkers. My grandfather, he was blue collar, a very, very simple and humble man, a good man, and an exceptional checkers player. The man was amazing. I played checkers with him pretty much every visit I had with him up until he died from leukemia. And every time I played checkers with him, every time I lost.
Mm-hmm.
There was never a victory my entire life. And I've told that story to folks, and they're like, "Oh, that's awful." I'm like, "No, that was amazing." And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, because he always used it as a learning experience. He always said, listen, we're going to play checkers, and I always want you to play to win. I don't want you to ever not play a game to win. He said, I'm going to play a game to win every time. He said, but that's not the reason why we're playing. We're playing to share time with each other. And if we share time with each other and we have fun and we remember why we like and love each other, then it's time well spent. And I looked forward to losing to him every single time I saw him. And it taught me resiliency. It taught me not giving up. It taught me a fighting spirit. But it taught me to always look for the bigger meaning, that winning can't be everything. I do the exact same thing in my clinical work now. I will have some people come in and they really struggle with setbacks. They've experienced so much difficulty in their lives that one loss at a game of Uno can put them over the edge. But it's amazing when you say, you know what, we're going to share a game of Uno because it's fun. And I want you to play to win. And I always want you to play to win. But you know what? That's not why we're playing. You might lose. We're playing because it's about spending time with each other and showing that we care enough to spend time with each other. And wouldn't you know it, like there was a young man that would lose his composure constantly at every setback. But by the end of a few years, he used to look forward to getting together, and he would talk to me. He's like, you know what? I lost, but you know what? It was all about spending time with you, and that mattered. And when that young man won, oh boy, he was the happiest guy. He's so happy, and he should have been. He had so much joy. But when he lost, he was still happy. And that was an important life lesson. I work with creating these therapeutic play spaces too with adults, and so often, like you can look through my reviews on Start Playing, and read like some of the testimonials about creating spaces where I feel comfortable, where I feel like people care about me, where he cares about me not just as a paycheck but as a person. Like those sorts of feelings that that's how I know that what I'm doing is helping. Like it's putting out some positivity in that space, and it's helping people heal. I mean, there's a lot of hurt out there, and
Mhm.
it's nice to see people bounce back. It's nice to see people grow and thrive, even in the midst of adversity.
That's a great reminder also for, I mean, just like life in general, but also, a lot of people are afraid to DM because they're worried at like sort of performance anxiety and stuff. And it's like, okay, but really like, okay, here's the secret to being a great DM, all right? Care about your players.
Care about your players.
That's it.
I wish I could remember the day I had that aha moment and I realized that was truly what made the difference. It was the day when I suddenly realized, you know what? We don't need to rush to the game. Let them talk with each other. Table talk, let it happen, because they're getting what they need in that moment from that experience. And maybe what they need most isn't the game at that moment. And that's okay. And immediately it's like, boom, lights went on. Like, yeah, that's how I need to run my games. And we get some serious gaming going on, don't get me wrong. And I am very old school D&D. I've been playing for a long time. My first D&D was Rule Cyclopedia AD&D. Character mortality was real. Difficulty was a thing. My wizard could have died from a house cat, but and I'm going to challenge. I'm going to challenge my players, but in the end, they're there because they want that connection. They want to be around people that care about each other and can enjoy each other's company.
Yeah. All right. So you just rescued a genie from the hands of an Ifriti, and it offers you 3 wishes to achieve your goals to make the world better. What do you wish for?
This question had me staring at a piece of paper for 30 minutes. So, like, it was so kind of you to send me, like, here's some examples of questions I'll ask. And I'm like, okay, here's the sorts of things I might want to say. And I'm like, what? Like, oh, this is hard. You only get 3 wishes. You get 1 ring of 3 wishes. How are you going to do this?
So I want to emphasize, all right, I'm not actually a genie. So so you don't have to worry about the monkey's claw or anything like that.
Good.
And if it turned, you could, if after the fact you go, you know what, I should have said this instead. Like, you can change your mind at any time, because it's really more about kind of what are you about.
Well, give me more Twilight Zone references, please. Okay, so my first thing, I was like, I really want others to feel hurt that they cause. Just that one change, I think, could fix a lot of problems if we really knew how somebody else felt when we hurt them. The second thing I think I would change, I wish for that genie to change AI so it eliminates mundane tasks from people's lives and not the ones that give us the most joy. Like I don't want an AI that's going to draw pictures. I want an AI that's going to do my dishes, please. Can you make this happen? So that people can spend their lives, instead of doing like those mundane things, do things that give back to culture and society and each other. And then my last wish would be to free the genie. Because that was just a good choice in Aladdin. Like, free the dang genie. Like, let the genie live their best life. They deserve that too.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if that's a cop-out. I didn't wish for more wishes, though. So,
then, you end up in a time loop. So, you don't want to go there.
Oh, yeah, and don't reanimate the dead, right? You can't reanimate the dead either. That was the other caveat, I think.
All right. So, what one message would you like to give gamers who want to help those who are struggling?
This was the other one that I thought a lot about. because I wanted to keep it short enough that it would be impactful. Like, what are the big takeaways if you really want to help other people? If there's anything I could say, is it's that the community is the thing about games that heals other people. It's the community is the thing. It's not the game. It's not the system. It's the togetherness of the people. And so do whatever you can to foster that. Outreach people through gaming events and stores. Be cognizant of where you spend your gaming dollars, because you can spend your hobby dollars in ways that actually do good out there. You can support, the local folks that are in your community, who you interact with each day. You can support companies that give back a portion of their money to charity. You can attend charity events. D8 Summit is just one of many that you could support. But it's dollars that you're going to spend entertaining yourself, but you can do it in a way that does good. The only other thing I would say besides just do the things that foster community, if you're wanting to help people, please look into mental health first aid training. It's offered by a number of quality local organizations. You'll have to search the internet for things near you. But learning how to see the signs that somebody is in a really bad spot in their life, maybe even that they're considering suicide, and knowing what to say when you become aware or when somebody reaches out to you, it can save a life. It's just like physical first aid. Knowing those things, it can save a life until a professional can get in there and do something. That's what mental health first aid is. But for mental health and suicide, it's like a one-day course. It's anybody can do it. It's usually really cheap or free. And if we could get more people certified in this, we could really go a long way to combating the scourge that suicide, has the harm that suicide has done to our community.
Yeah, that right there, that's the way to be a real world, superhero, the way to slay the dragon and to rescue people in need.
Yeah, that would be, help your community, but please, if you do anything, if you really want to help people, and that's not, you can help gamers that way, but you can help anybody, coworkers, family members. Be that person if somebody reaches out to you or you notice the signs of suicide, to save that life.
Yeah. And so that leads to our other question related. What one message would you like to give gamers who are struggling?
You aren't alone. All of us struggle at points in our life. It's a experience that connects us. And you aren't alone in feeling the way that you feel. You're not alone in that moment either. There are people that you can reach out to. Know the people that you can trust, that you can go to. And if you're in a position where you don't have anybody you can reach out to, there are people who can listen and they can point you to resources. You can text the word helpline, one word, to 62640, or you can dial 988 or text 988, and somebody will be on the other end of that to try to listen and to care and to offer help. Don't feel like it's a stigma, and don't feel like you have to suffer in silence or suffer alone.
Yeah, I've never thought about that before. That the struggle, the feeling that you're alone, is actually something that connects us all. That's that. Wow. Yeah. And so yeah, when you feel you're alone, that is the definitive, you know, proof that you're not.
Exactly. Yeah, because other people, everybody else has felt it too.
Wow. All right. So, what projects are you working on right now that you can talk about?
Well, the one now that's demanding an awful lot of my time is the 2024 D8 Summit Charity Convention. It's April 19th to 21st in Dixon, Illinois. That's about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half west of Chicago. It's a quaint little town and just a wonderful time. I talked about it earlier. You can learn more and get a link to it on our charity's webpage, d8summit.org. The letter D, the number 8, summit, all one word.org. If you can't attend the convention, and there's a lot of reasons why people can't, but you want to support what we're doing, there's also a link there, and you can donate directly to the charity. The D8 Summit is a 501c3. Keep your receipt, turn it into your tax accountant. It's tax deductible. We're also working on putting together a bundle to support D8 Summit through DriveThruRPG. So when we get that put together, you'll start seeing information from that on our website. There's also a great project that's going through the Word Refinery right now called Koboa. And if you haven't heard about Koboa, it's freaking amazing. It is a campaign setting based on the mythology and practices of South America, and it is written and put together by a host of South American creatives. So it's genuine and authentic. It's an outreach and a window into a beautiful culture, and it's some damn good gaming. Every time something else drops and I'm looking, I'm like, that's so amazing, Adrian. You have to, I've become a little bit of a cheerleader for that. You can learn more about Koboa on the website, thewordrefinery.org. I've got a ton of writing projects in the works, both collaborations to get a bunch of new creatives telling some great stories and creating things that you can put in your game. I've got one adventure that I'm writing now where the entire goal is basically to teach a Modron, why the chaotic nature of love is so important.
That's cool.
And I'm really thinking of naming it Romancing the Drone. But I need the dad joke in there, and I'm like, Connor, don't do it. And every time my brain tells me, Connor, don't do it, I want to do it twice as badly. So there's a couple like writing projects kicking around my head, but my big focus right now is on D8 Summit, and it's on helping the Koboa team at the Word Refinery get that project out.
That's cool. I've read some about Koboa. I saw Alyssa's article on D&D Beyond about it, and I'm reading it, and I'm going, wow, this is amazing. I mean, like, besides just the being able to see something from a completely different cultural perspective that's not just like more Greek and Norse mythology, to like, I mean, just like the game mechanics. I mean, just really creative, different approaches to things. Yeah, if anyone hasn't, we will definitely have a link to that in our show notes because it's very cool.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm working like mad to have it available for play at D8 Summit. But it is something that I encourage everybody to look into, support, and add to their own games.
Cool. All right. So we will have all your contact information in our show notes, but where's the one best place that you'd like people to learn more about you or to contact you?
Well, I know that the easiest way to get at all of my things is to go to my website, thehealerdm.card with 2 R's.com. The healer DM, like one word. But nobody's going to remember that. And web pages always feel like really impersonal, even though, I mean, you can get links to my socials and all the things I've written and the projects I'm passionate about. You can just IM me on Twitter, like DM me on Twitter, at the healer DM, or on Blue Sky, same, the healer DM, because I mean, I try to maintain a pretty healthy presence there where I support and uplift people. And I've never shut off my DMs. They're open to anybody. So it's perfectly cool. Like, reach out and say, hey, I want to have a conversation about this, and I will do my best to engage you. Like, because, you know, we all have cool thoughts, and one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of social media as much as I am is because if it's done well, it allows a reciprocity, and I can meet and converse with people that I might not have otherwise ever met, because the world is a big place and I'm a small person. So that's kind of cool. I've never closed my DMs, and want to message me? Message me. Like, I want to hear from you. Hope you want to hear from me, because you'll get a reply. I tend to mutual people too. Like, so, you know, if you follow me, don't be surprised if you get a follow back. If I notice it, it's going to happen.
All right. Well, Connor, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, check out those links in the show notes.
Dale, thank you so much. And again, if you're listening out there, thanks for taking the time. And you know, get out there and, you know, lead with love.
Thanks so much, Connor. That was just so awesome. I really appreciated that. Really enjoyed that interview. We have some new patrons, and I appreciate all of our patrons so much. And so a big thanks to Maggie Evans, Alex Nielsen, and Lyndon Bao. Your ongoing support gives us the encouragement to keep up this work. Thanks to our patrons. We add community copies to our store every month for those who can't afford our products. So if that's you, you can sign up for our weekly emails to get notified when they come available. And in fact, this month alone, we added $580 worth of free copies. And that's pretty typical for the way things have been going lately. So there's plenty there right now. If you like one or more of those titles, go help yourself. If you can't afford them, that's why they're there. Patrons get access to all of our content in a modular format that we call the layer, plus exclusive extras, including all of these weekly adventures we've been putting out. We are adding Foundry VTT access to all of our content within the next, hopefully, week or two. And higher tiers have all kinds of added benefits. And so I invite you to check out the link in our show notes to get more details about how you can support our work, and we can support you and work with you at the same time. Now, if you see this show being helpful, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe to this wherever is best for you to subscribe so you get all of these episodes. If you know people that need to hear this, please pass it on to them. And if you, like me, think everyone needs to hear this, pass it on through all of your social media networks and your social circles. And don't forget those podcast ratings. They're super, super important. Thank you so much for joining us to make lives better with tabletop role-playing games.